this off. There we go. So that I don't get feedback. Hi. Who's that, Jamie? Is that you, Jamie? The print is so small. And it's taking a second for my chat to load. All righty. Oh, it was you, Jamie. Good to see you. Thank you for the blue hearts. Oh, this coffee is hot and it's so good. All right. Okay. My screen looks nice. Good. Tonight we are talking about preparing for the CPC exam. So for those that have been writing in asking me how to prepare, aside from all the other videos that I've posted previously about study preparation tips, this will be my latest video on this very subject. So I hope you all have had a great day. Today is Tuesday, the 22nd. And yes, I normally only have lives once a month. However, I did not have time to film another show ahead of time. So that is why you will get a bonus of having me tonight. So enjoy it. If you have any questions about tonight's topic, please put them in the chat box and I will address them as they come in. Okay. All right. I'm going to give people some time to come in. All right. So, preparing for the CPC exam, right? I will just say this first before we get started. Of course, if you are a subscriber for a while, you all know that I am certified with the American Health Information Management Association. I have no affiliation with AAPC at all, but I still talk about them because they are one of the two major medical coding associations that you can be certified through. I always like for people to decide for themselves which association is better for them. Some people pick AHIMA, some people pick AAPC. AHIMA, again, if you don't know, is the American Health Information Management Association. They have the credentials, the CCA, the CCS, and the CCSP. They also have the degree designations, the RHIA and the RHIT. But for tonight, I am going to be talking about the CPC. That is the flagship credential for the American Academy of Professional Coders. Most coders that start out with AAPC start out with the CPC. It is a great credential. A lot of people ask for it. There is an apprentice designation to this credential at the first time you get it. If you have no background, you will carry this for 2 years. There is a way to accelerate the process of the removal. However, I think that if you're brand new, you're still going to be brand new whether you have the A or not. And we will get into that in this episode too. So I think we have enough people for right now. We have a quorum. We can go ahead and get started. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Tonight we are talking about preparing for the CPC exam. Last night I talked about preparing for the CCS exam. Tonight is all about the CPC. Now the CPC and the CCS, obviously two very, very different credentials. And when it comes to getting prepared for the CPC, This is going to concentrate on the outpatient side. So it is the concentration of this test is mostly in the CPT manual. And that is where a lot of the questions come from, obviously, because that's what it is based on. So give me a second to pull up the AAPC website, which I should have been doing. When I don't do these for a while, and I feel like it hasn't been that long. We started off this month with a live, right? But I feel like when I get out of practice of doing it, I'm all over the place. So bear with me. Certification CPC. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to talk about what is on the CPC exam and how long it is. And I think I'm on the right page. Am I on the right page? Yes, I am. Yay. Carrie says, I was wondering about writing in my book. I am using washi tape to make notations. Yes, it is live. I am live, Kelly. I am using washi tape to make notations. Will that be an issue when I go to take my exam? What is washi tape? Maybe I should Google that. What is washi tape? That's a new one for me. I never heard of that. Is that like whiteout? What is that? Looks like tape. It is tape. It is tape. You can't have any tape in your book. It's a decorative adhesive tape. Why would you put tape in your book? It's gonna tear the pages. Okay. We'll get to that towards the end. See. Okay. Writing in your book. Let's go ahead and start with that. Okay, it's a tape. It's a decorative tape. And okay, here's the thing with the writing in the books. AAPC is different from AHIMA in the fact with the writing and the notes, and there's all these other bubble methods and things like that people have heard of, and then tabbing and things. Here's the thing, guys. When you are writing in your books, it takes away from the book. The goal is to learn to use the book. Learn to use the book. Don't write in your books. You don't need to tab your books. Now, before you people panic, don't panic. I came up in a time where they told us you cannot write, you cannot tab, you cannot do anything to your books. The first test I took was in 2008. And they said you cannot tab your books, you cannot do anything to them. And now AHIMA has relaxed their rules and a little bit and said, okay, if the tabs came with the books, then you can use the tabs, all right? AAPC, I know they allow tabbing of their books because there's like an actual method to how they tab their books and things. But the thing is, guys, when you tab your books, this says to me as a coder, as a veteran coder, you don't know your book. You don't know your book, you don't know your way around. And if you say, well, Blue, I've had plenty of practice. If you're having plenty of practice, those pages are going to tear that have the tabs on the books. And the AAPC rings are a little bit thinner and they're kind of flimsy from what I've seen. And so it doesn't hold up as well, okay? So the thing is, guys, you have to be very careful with how you're using these books because people will tear pages, pages fall out, pages get torn. So you want to be able to use your books in a way that your book is going to last, okay? So try not to write anything in your books. If you're already writing all over it, you can't take it back now. I mean, it's already all done and over with. But if you haven't started writing in your notes, writing notes in your books yet, or writing and tabbing and doing all those things, think about this real quick. When you are in a test setting, right, and all of a sudden you are flipping through your book and you see notes, and you see all these highlights and colors and letters and numbers, and it's all over the place in your book, staring at you in the face while you're trying to concentrate and look and see what you got to do. It's distracting. Rather than having a nice clean book where you can go and just look at the code and look exactly where you need to go. Well, Blue, I don't know, and I need to circle the parent code and the child code. That doesn't make any sense to me either, because if you're actually looking at the book like you're supposed to, you don't need that huge circle. So again, it's going to make the pages look like chaos. don't write in your books. That's my advice anyway. If you want to write in your books, if you want to tab in your books, go ahead. But they do say that you cannot have anything taped, you cannot have anything stapled, you cannot have any loose pages, loose like what is it, post-it notes and things like that. You can't have those in there in your book. And AAPC says it as well. So my advice is to either get another book if you've done it all over that book. But there's also the candidate hand guide here that will tell you about that. You cannot have excessive writing with AHIMA. You can't. AAPC, you know, they don't want you writing any coding clinics or anything like that in there either. No coding clinics, no CPT assistant, none of that. So you have to keep your books as note-free as you can, because again, you don't know what's going to be on that test, and writing notes, again, you're going to confuse yourself even more. And I would hate to have that worry of, did I write something? Are they going to inspect my book? And then is this going to affect my ability to be able to sit for this exam? I would not want to give any appearance of wanting to cheat or anything like that. Because if you know how to navigate your books, you're going to be fine. You're not going to need all those notes. But what you need to know is how to look things up in the book. Writing all those extra notes and highlighting is not going to do anything for you except for make you nervous when you're looking at that book. At least that's just, my thought on it anyway. Carrie, it's like masking tape and you can remove it. Jamie, you need to know how to get there without the tabs. Thank you. Hi A, the CPC exam is scheduled for the April the 8th. Yay! Jamie, they look through your books really good before you can even sit for your test. Alma, yes, they inspect your books before you take your exam. So for the CCA, it's the CCS exam you have to take. Hi, Rochelle. Okay, no. This is going to get out of control real quick if I don't be careful. Okay, real quick. The CCA is the entry level exam for AHIMA, right? It's entry level. It's not apprentice, before anybody says anything. It's not apprentice. And yes, you can get a job with it. Yes, it is a very good credential, because I had it for 13 years, okay? So the CCA is what you get when you are just starting out and you don't know anything really about the field other than you passed a program or you studied on your own and took the certification exam. And now this says that you are proficient and you are competent in all of these facets of medical coding. There are 6 different domains that are tested on the CCA exam. It covers the inpatient and the outpatient setting. The CCS, on the other hand, is the mastery of medical coding. This is what you graduate to when you've taken the CCA and then you want to move on and take the CCS. When you do that and you pass the CCS exam, the CCA actually dissolves. You can never carry the CCA and the CCSP or the CCA and the CCS. You can never do that because the CCA gets what is called superseded. And that means that it gets dropped once it is surpassed by a higher level mastery credential, which is the CCSP if you want to be mastery on the outpatient side, or the CCS if you want to be the gold standard and be mastery of the inpatient and the outpatient setting. So generally people start off with the CCA and then they go on after they've had some experience and time in the field, because you do need that. You do need experience and time in to take something as heavy as the CCS exam. And guys, don't get upset with me for those ones that say, Bleu, I'm here just for the CPC. I know, but I take questions as they come in. So again, when you're taking the CCS exam, and I try to tell people all the time too, that's not an exam you could take lightly. That exam is very intense. And no one has the same exam. And that's the thing with AHIMA exams, is that they're different for everybody. There's a pool of 1 million questions. I say this facetiously, obviously, but there's a pool of about 1 million questions. No one has the exact same exam. Now, with AAPC, their exams are 2 different ways. They are either online. You can do it in your home, set up with a camera. You have to have a webcam. You have to have it positioned a certain way and things like that. Or you can take it proctored at a site, right? And they're paper based when you are taking it in person. Now, to me, if I'm a test taker, I'm not going to fool around trying to be at home setting up a webcam. That's too much anxiety for me. Anything could happen. The power could go out. I could need to get up in the middle of the test. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot get up from your test center area. You cannot get up for those 2 hours because it's broken down into two-hour sessions with AAPC. They're at home online test. And so a proctor is watching you and another person, because it's one proctor to two people. So they're watching you on this camera, and you have to stay there for those 2 hours. And if you don't, then, I think they make you forfeit your test or whatever, because they don't know if you're trying to cheat. Okay. So that's the thing. And when you go in person, it is a member of AAPC, and they'll be sitting there proctoring the exam. They go through your books. They look to make sure you don't have anything loose in there. And you get this paper-based test, right? And you have the sheet that you can bubble in and things like that. To me, that's much better, because you have the freedom of going anywhere on this test to start and starting your exam. You can skip over harder questions and go on to the easier questions, because it's a paper. It's paper-based. It's not like with AHIMA, where AHIMA, you have to answer the question and move on, and it's all computer-based. Okay, there is no taking it at home with AHIMA. And their tests are administered with Pearson VUE. AAPC, again, the members are the ones that are in control of those proctoring those exams. So if you are taking a test with them, you have this paper base. If you're going to the if you're going to the test center, right? And to me, that's much better because you have the opportunity to have something in your hand and you're looking at it. And it's a 4-hour exam, so that's 2 hours, not 2 hours. It is 2 minutes, 40 seconds per question, because it is 100 questions for the CPC exam. So if you know this, right, 2 minutes, 40 seconds is what it comes out to. So you're in the test center, 2 minutes, 40 seconds per question. Obviously, not all of them are going to be 2 minutes, 40 seconds, but you're going to be able to speed through whatever you can and then go to whatever you feel is hardest, or, whatever is tripping you up, then you can go back to those. So that would be one of the strategies that you could use for taking the test. But I recommend that you all start your study journey, right? With working on your speed. Working on your speed and getting familiar with your CPT book, because again, the bulk of the CPC exam is from the CPT manual. Yes, my book still has the tabs on them. I have been very busy lately. I do not have time to pull these off, but trust me, when I start messing with this book again, I will be pulling these tabs off. They are on here because I demonstrated a couple nights ago how to tab, because I figure if you're going to tab, at least tab it the correct way, right? And so I have mine all tabbed here, and it's a nice little system that I use where you can see all of the tabs. I've seen people with their tabs all over the book, and I never quite understand that, but I'm like, whatever. So I show the people, okay? But for my CPC exam test takers, this needs to be the bulk of your study. Start off by opening this book and flipping each and every single page and just looking at it. Looking at each and every single page. Now, before you look at me like, really, Blue? Okay, here's the thing. People get stuck with this book because they don't know where things are in this book. This book has a lot of resources in it. It has some abbreviations in the back. It's in the back tab. It's got this whole thing back here full of abbreviations, right? And then it has some prefixes, suffixes, and root words in the front of it. It also has all of your rules about, E&M and anesthesia and surgery and all this. It's got everything in here. The more familiar you are with this book, the more beneficial it will be for you. If you are going through and flipping through every single page, If you are doing this every week consistently, you're going to know exactly where everything is in this book. You're going to know where the definitions for the modifiers are in the back. You're going to know where to find sections in this book, where the medicine section is, where the orthopedic section is, where the urology section is. You're going to know where everything is without these stupid tabs. I hate them. I hate tabs, guys. I really do. But you're going to know where everything is at in the book. And that's going to make you faster with looking up codes in the book. And a lot of people say, well, Blue, when I'm looking at these big, huge op notes, I see all these words and I get confused. Guys, you got to go to the meat of the potato. You got to look at the end. Start at the end. What did they finally do, right? And what did they finally come up with? And that is where you begin. So you're basically going backwards. But all of the beginning part of an op note is going to be that they administered the anesthesia, and they prepped them and they draped them and all this good stuff. And then they're going to say, oh, well, we did this and we entered this way. And then at the end, that's when they're going to say, okay, we found this, we did this. And that's how those notes are looked at. And to me, that's what I've always done. I've always gone to the bottom part of the note, looked at what the final result is, and then I go back up to review and kind of like scan and see what else I can see, if there's anything else that is pertinent. Because I've gotten into the habit as a established coder myself, is not looking at the title of a surgery on the outside. Sometimes with a book, yeah, it's the title of the surgery is there, and then it's like, okay, yeah, it's correct, but you never know, okay? So I've always gotten into the habit of reading the note, but I look at the bottom part of the note first, and then I go to the top, and then I work my way down again. And so it's like, oh, okay, I know what the end result is. So with that, knowing your code ranges in the CPT book is really going to help. The 1000 series is the integumentary system. The 20,000 series. Did I say 1000? I did. The 10,000 series. The 10,000 series is the integumentary system. The 20,000 goes to the musculoskeletal, and so on and so forth. So I know when I'm looking at this test and I'm looking at these code ranges that they have, because AAPC it is multiple choice, right? Their test is multiple choice. So if you're looking at these answers, you know right away, okay, this one is talking about, the skin section, and this one is talking about musculoskeletal, and they did this procedure. So I know I can eliminate the musculoskeletal one because this has to do with the skin, and so that's how you can speed up the process of elimination, right? Because process of elimination is different with the AAPC exam than it is with the AHIMA exams. With AHIMA, process of elimination will only get you so far. It will not hold you. Someone asked me that last night. How important is process of elimination, or how helpful is process of elimination, like on the CCS exam? CCS is 100% about knowing what you're doing. Process of elimination and guessing will not carry you on the CCS. Process of elimination will help you with the CPC, yes, because it's all multiple choice, and you're looking at this exam, and again, you can see the answers that they have available. And so if you know, again, that whatever section you need to be in, if there are two funky ones that are on there somehow, some way, you can immediately eliminate those and be like, okay, yeah, no, that's not what's happening here. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can start to do, but that will only start to click if you're working with your book, if you're practicing with your book, if you're working on your speed with the book, if you're taking the time while you're studying in the weeks beforehand. If, say, you got 2 months before you sit for your exam, and you take every week to once a week flip through your book, okay, just looking at it, there's going to be some things that catch your eye, which is great because you can look at those things and just your brain can read them. But your brain is processing a lot of information every single second. I mean, literally, we can process more information quicker in our brain than we can actually speak. So that's the thing. Your brain takes in a lot of information, and it will fill in holes and it will do these things, but you have to practice. Our brains are wonderful in that they are, what is a good way to describe it? They can be molded to have new pathways for learning, right? And when you have these new molded pathways for learning, you can get stronger in these pathways. But how do you do this? You repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And a lot of times people will tell me, Bleu, I'm studying for my CPC and I'm so confused and I'm so lost. What is confusing you? What are you lost on? Everything. Okay, no. You need to pick one thing at a time. If it's diagnosis and procedures, okay, it's diagnosis and procedures. But let's start with the diagnosis first. What is it about the diagnosis that's confusing you? Well, I don't understand when to use combined codes. I don't understand when I'm supposed to use the Z codes. That's when having the right book will actually help you. Now, guys, I am not a representative of Optum. I know from my viewers that y'all have heard me, oh, here she goes again with Optum. Yes, here I go again. Because I want y'all to understand something. Having the right tools can help you. Now, AAPC allows for any publisher, for you to use any publisher when it comes to the ICD-10-CM, so your diagnosis book and your HCPCS book. You can use any publisher. The only one that it absolutely has to be, obviously, is going to be that it has to be the AMA CPT Professional Edition. This is absolute. You do have to have this one. You can use the 2022. You can even use your 2021 book, but they tell you here that if you are using a year older book, that it is at your discretion, is at your peril. Because if there's something updated and you don't have that code in your book, it might throw you off. So again, if you are using an older book, 2021, it's fine. But again, they're just telling you you're taking a chance because they've uploaded their brand new test January 1. So they are already on the 2022 code set. So when you are using this book and you're in there, this is the one that you absolutely have to have. There is no using any other CPT book. CPT has to be the AMA Professional Edition. So you're going to get familiar with this one. But when it comes to your diagnosis book, sometimes people, they get the package, the bundle package. So AAPC has their version of ICD-10-CM and their version of the HCPCS book, right? But again, you can have any publisher you want when it comes to those two. I recommend Optum. Why do I recommend Optum? Because Optum is the most comprehensive that I have seen out of any of the other publishers. They are the most comprehensive. Before every single beginning of the chapters, for all the different chapters in here, right? There is a section that covers how those diagnoses are applied. And it gives you the rationale. So it's actually demonstrating each chapter, the codes and how they're applied in here. So it goes over these for injuries, it goes over these for cardio, it goes over these for the Z codes, everything you could want. Now, tell me, where else would that be great to be able to see, okay, yeah, that's how I do that. It's having the right tools. And Optum, they are great for that. Their books are always on sale. If you go to optum360coding.com, I believe they're still 50% off or 55% off for the 2022s, I believe. And sometimes the website's a little funny. I don't know why. I think sometimes when there's a lot of people, like high traffic, it'll say that it's not on sale, but it actually is. You just have to go in and refresh, and sometimes you have to delete your cookies, but it's worth it. Trust me, you'll see all the books that are available there. Now, the other thing about this is that the guidelines are in the front of the book. This is another thing that I'm telling you guys. I know the AAPC exam is very heavy on the CPT manual. However, I will say this. You do need to read your ICD-10-CM coding guidelines once per week. Now, you don't have to read them all in one sitting. But if you read them at least over the course of a couple of days or a few days, maybe if it even takes you a whole week, that's fine. But it's 34 pages if you're looking in this book, which is like 70 something pages. But you can actually go to cms.gov and actually download the guidelines for free from the website. And it's like 115 pages. It's just because the font size is different. That's all. But reading these once per week is going to do two things, right? It's going to make you very familiar with these coding guidelines, which is very important when you're working with diagnoses, okay? And then it is going to make you a faster reader. It's going to make you a faster reader. Your brain it's going to get quicker. Reading is just like exercise. It is literally just like exercise. The more you do it, the better off you will be, right? Your body gets conditioned. Well, your brain is going to start getting conditioned to get this information and listen to it and go through it more quicker, faster, and then you're going to get more proficient. That is when you can take these exams, is when you are proficient. That is why there are tests. I know that there are a lot of programs out there that just push people like cattle through these programs. Oh, take it, you'll pass it. And they teach people how to pass exams. But the problem with that is, yeah, you pass, but do you know what you're doing? No, sometimes people don't know what they're doing. And unfortunately, the field gets those folks, which makes it harder for people who have studied really hard to get their first job, because again, new employers are not going to want to have to train somebody who's not, well trained already coming in. But if you are diligently working towards understanding, and even if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. There's ways to understand, but you have to practice, and you can't get frustrated with yourself when you don't get something. I hear from people every day, Bleu, I'm frustrated because I don't understand. When you're trying to take on a lot of things all at one time, that leads to that frustration. So you have to take things one step at a time. If you're getting stuck on the diagnoses, take your diagnoses book, open it up, and start looking at it. Start flipping each and every single page, because then again, this is not going to be so scary for you. And the same thing with the CPT manual. Again, it's not going to be so scary for you. You just have to get that practice time in. If you do not get that practice time in, it is always going to scare you. You have to go above and beyond all the things that they're giving you with the school, right? Because if the school is telling you, we want you to do questions 1 through 5, and there's 20 questions on this thing, but we only want you to do 1 through 5, you need to do all 20 questions. Oh, we only need you to read chapters 1 through 6, and there's 20 chapters, you need to read all 20 chapters. You need to do this because this is going to train you better. It's not going to give you just a little bit, just barely where you know. It's going to get you more confident because you're going to get more knowledge. When I was in school, I went to a trade school. They sat me in front of a computer, told me, here, learn. I had to learn on my own. And when I did this, they said, oh, E&M, people get freaked out at E&M and they keep failing. Some people have dropped out of the program because they didn't understand E&M. I was like, well, I've been making good time. I am not going to slow down now. So I started reading the whole book. And I had people around me, well, Bleu, why are you doing that? They only told us that we needed to read this chapter and that chapter. Because if I really want to understand what I'm doing, and if I don't want to be scared of this, I've got to face it head on. And that's exactly what you have to do. Because for those that are just doing the bare minimum, that's where you're getting tripped up, because that's not the way to be when it comes to this field. A lot of people say, well, just go ahead and pass the exam so that way you can get out there. Again, you are going to be responsible for coding somebody's chart. Think about how you would feel if somebody was like, oh, lackadaisical about learning. Wouldn't you want somebody to be strong that's looking at your record? Because they're going to defend you as the patient, right? You and the doctor, they're going to defend you both, because they're going to see what's most fair and what is here, what is documented. So again, that's where, even being brand new, it doesn't matter. You still have to learn and you still have to grow. And learning now while you're studying for this CPC exam is the hugest part. I have said, when I studied for my CCS, I used the CPC study guide. Bleu, that's a CPC study guide. Yes, I know. But the CPC is all about the outpatient CPT book. With the CCS, yes, you have to know inpatient and outpatient. But if you have to brush up, the CPC study guide is the perfect way to go. So even if you are taking the CPC test, great. The CPC study guide is what I recommend that you study with. It's a workbook, right? It has a rationale in the back. Yes, this is 2019. Yes, you can still use it to study. Yes, some of the codes are updated in here. However, not all of them are, okay? And the rationale still stays the same. So again, you can use this, and you'll notice if the code is not there, you'll say, okay, well then this was an updated code. You can look up what was that code updated to see if you got that same code, right? And if you did, well then you know you got the right answer. But this is the first place you got to start. Work through the entire workbook, okay? So that way you can get that. Work on your speed. There are like 10 questions through here. And so you can break it down and see if you can do a question in 2 minutes 40 seconds. That's your timer. Or you can try to shave off a little time and make it 2 minutes 20 seconds per question. So that way you can have a little bit of a buffer. But if you learn how to look up codes as quickly and answer those questions as quickly, you'll have more time on the test to be able to spend a little bit more time on those case studies. Because I know we jumped ahead, but this exam is 100 questions. They lowered it. It is 4 hours, so it is 2 minutes 40 seconds per question, and it covers, where is it? The CPC exam breakdown. Passing the CPC requires you to answer correctly a minimum of 70 questions. You can get 30 questions wrong and still pass this test, okay? But you got to make a 70, okay? So the exam questions, however, will not be identified or sorted by series to which they pertain. So they're not going to break it down like integumentary first, musculoskeletal, and then on and on and on. They're not going to do that. They're going to break it and move it all over the test. The CPC test will rely on a level of understanding that enables you to identify the series. So the 10,000 series, the integumentary system, part of the exam will consist of 6 questions related to surgical procedures performed on the integumentary system, which includes the skin, subcutaneous, and accessory structures, as well as nails, pilonodal, whatever. Y'all can look on here. Cysts. Okay, starts with a P, cyst, I don't know what that. Repairs, destruction. And then the 20,000 series, 6 questions, that's a musculoskeletal. And then 30,000, 6 questions, covering the respiratory system, surgical procedures. 40,000 series will be tested regarding surgical procedures on the digestive system, right? 50,000 is on the urinary. 60,000 is on the nervous, and then you have evaluation and management, and all of those were 6 questions. Evaluation and management has 6 questions. 6 evaluation and management questions will assess your coding proficiency related to place and level of service, such as office out or other outpatient, hospital observation, hospital inpatient, which is your professional fee coding, okay? Pro fee coding, professional fee coding, is hospital inpatient. Consultations is another section, and then of course emergency department, critical care, nursing facility, domiciliary and rest homes, and nursing and home services. It will also include questions directed at preventative medicine, non-face-to-face services, neonatal and pediatric critical care, intensive care, prolonged services, chronic care, transitional care, case management, and care plan oversight. Anesthesia only has 4 questions. Radiology has 6 questions. Laboratory and path has 6 questions. The medicine section, which covers a broad range of services, 6 questions will cover numerous specialty specific coding scenarios, as well as immunizations, biofeedback, dialysis, central nervous system assessments, health and behavioral assessments, hydration, medical nutrition, therapeutic and diagnostic administration, chemotherapy administration, photodynamic therapy, osteopathic manipulative treatment, patient education and training, non-face-to-face, non-physician services, and moderate sedation. Medical terminology for all systems in the human body will be assessed in 4 questions. That's it. 4 questions for medical terminology. Anatomy, again, will be assessed only with 4 questions. ICD-10 CM diagnosis, only 5 freaking questions. That's it. But those diagnosis questions are, diagnoses is going to be part of all of these scenarios anyway, right? It's not just, they're just not just saying, oh, this only the procedures, right? When you look at these practice tests, I mean, you see diagnoses everywhere. So you're still, even though they're not asking you pointed questions about the diagnoses, they're still going to be part of the scenarios anyway, right? So 5 questions will require proficiency in the diagnosis for all chapters, including ICD-10-CM, as well as thorough knowledge of ICD-10-CM official guidelines for coding and reporting. Additionally, diagnoses questions will appear in other sections of the exam from the CPT categories, like I just said. So again, it's not that you're going to luck out, oh, good, it's only going to be 5 questions. No, only 5 pointed questions about diagnoses. The rest is going to be included on those other scenarios. So again, you're going to have to know. You're going to have to know how these diagnoses apply. HCPCS level 2, 3 questions. That's it, 3 from the CPC exam will pertain to the HCPCS level 2 coding and include questions focusing on modifiers, supplies, medications, and professional services for Medicare patients. And then coding guidelines. This section of the CPC test will involve 7 questions on the official guidelines for coding and reporting. So again, worth your time to read. CPT coding guidelines and parenthetical notes and modifier use. Okay, that's on that. That makes up the 7 questions. Compliance and regulatory. 3 questions testing your knowledge of compliance and regulations will pertain to services covered under Medicare Parts A, B, C, and D. Applying coding to payment policy, place of service reporting, fraud and abuse, NCCI edits, NCD, LCD, HIPAA, ABNs, and RVUs. New, they have a new section. Note, new section cases. 10 cases with 1 multiple choice question per case. 10 cases with 1 multiple choice question per case will test your ability to accurately code medical record documentation using CPT, ICD-10-CM, and HCPCS level 2. The cases will cover the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 series, medicine, anesthesia, radiology, pathology and laboratory, evaluation and management, medical terminology, anatomy, compliance, and regulatory information may be tested in these cases. So, yeah. Let me see what questions did I miss. All right. A says, Blue, I really enjoyed the last word search on the posterior muscles and how you didn't leave a word bank. Very helpful. Good. I'm glad. Oh, which reminds me, I need to post the answer key. Thank you for reminding me. Let's see. Shamika. Hi, Blue. My instructor advised me to write and highlight in my book, but I understand what you are saying. Ellie. Hi, Ellie. Thank you for the blue hearts. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for the blue hearts. Maximus. You can't read the questions out loud. I don't know why anybody would do that in a testing site. Sam, you're welcome. Jerry. Hi, Jerry. She says, great information, Blue. Marissa. Thank you for all the blue hearts. Shamika. For my class, my instructor only wanted me to buy the AMA books. My class is once a week for 4 months. And I'm set to take the test at the beginning of June 2022. So they may want you to buy the AMA books because that's what that's what their curriculum is based on, is those books, right? So they may have something in there that they're testing you on, right? But 4 months makes me so nervous. I hope you're studying, Miss Shamika. I hope that you are studying, because I have always said, if you don't have experience with coding, 4 months is a very fast time to learn medical coding. I hope you already know your medical terminology and your anatomy, because that's going to help you. It's not going to carry you, but it'll help you. Because 4 months is going to go just like that. And one other thing about these instructors, sometimes these instructors, and I've gotten a couple of angry, messages from instructors already. And it's okay. I mean, they can get upset. I really don't care. Because here's the thing. One told me, well, I've been an instructor for 6 years, and I always tell my students that they can tab because it's never been an issue. Okay, have you read the candidate hand guide? Because it's clearly there in the candidate hand guide, sir, Mr. RHIT. So really, I didn't understand where the attitude came from, but it was just like, really, if you're looking through the book, you don't need to depend on the tabs, number one. Number two, for AHIMA exams, you are never allowed to have homemade tabs. Well, all my students do it. Okay, well then I hope all of your students get that when they go to Pearson VUE, that you can't have tabs on those books. I'm just saying. But to me, whatever. I'm always going to tell people how I would want to be told, how I would want the truth to be told to me. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have an instructor. There was a creepy guy at my school who was an instructor. Did I spend any time in those classes? Heck no, because he was creepy. So that's why I stayed out of those classes. So essentially, I don't have a coding mentor to turn to. It is literally just, I'm trying to figure this stuff out on my own. And again, I'm going to get to this position one day where I'm going to be able to teach people to critically think. Because that's what it should be about. Instructors, we have to do better. Leaders, we have to do better in this field. We do. Because again, when we're bringing up this next generation of medical coders coming in, right, that's going to eventually replace all of us one day, the old guard, it's going to replace us, right? These new medical coders, they need to be as strong or stronger than we are. I would always want to train people to be stronger than me. I want you to be stronger than me. I want you to know more than I do. I want you to be able to teach me eventually one day a thing or two. But to do that, you have to be able to be taught to critically think. If you're having to sit here and depend on those tabs and depend on all of these highlights and notes and colors and all this other stuff, what is that teaching the people? What are you learning from that? Nothing. There is nothing that you're learning. You're wasting time doing all of that when you could have been working out scenarios. You could have been looking at the book itself. You could have been reading the notes that are in the Optum 360 ICD-10 book. They have notes throughout and coding tips throughout the chapters, throughout the tabular list, right? For information about these diagnoses. Teach the people about coding clinic. When I talk about coding clinic, I'll get 10 or 15 emails after the show. Blue, what is coding clinic? What is CPT assistant? You're in a program? Your teacher didn't tell you this? Okay, here we go. Because if you're coming to me and you're asking me those questions, I'm like, who is teaching you? Who is teaching you? So again, I'm going to get to that position one day. I'm going to get there. I have to, because it to me, when I see that, and it's part of the reason that I do have the channel too, really, because I saw that need, that there was people out there that there's stuff that coders can know, but no one is saying, because everybody says, oh, well, I thought they knew or they could figure it out. Well, no, I'm here to tell you, tabs don't work, highlights don't work, notes don't work. What works is actually doing the hard lifting and actually working through the scenarios, actually going through and getting stuff wrong and seeing, like, why is it wrong? When I studied for the CCS exam, do you think I was worried about the inpatient coding? Yes, because I had never sat and worked in the inpatient setting. I've done inpatient professional services and I've done outpatient coding, but that was the one that I knew that I had a conscious incompetence in that section. I was consciously aware that I was incompetent in inpatient coding. So what did I do? Drill, drill, drill. Almost every single day. I rarely had a day off, but that's me, and that's what I do. But I made it a consistent thing. There was a couple of days, yes, I had to have other things to do, but I at least made it a point after the show. I would go after the show and I would do for 1 hour. Sometimes I would do for 45 minutes. One time I did for an hour and a half, but that was no good because I got tired. But I would work through the ICD-10 PCS, another gem from Optum 360, because in the back it has its appendixes. And in Appendix M, it has a whole list of questions that you can work through. And then in Appendix N, it gives you the answer key. So I practice and practice and practice. And I'm telling you, that's what got me through knowing how to look up the PCS procedures. That's what helped me. But it takes practice, and I was willing to put all the things that I have to do aside just to devote time to this. It's the same way you have to be if you're studying for the CPC exam. And even though people say, oh yeah, it's easy, it's not easy. The CPC exam is also not an easy test, because I've seen brilliant people fail the test because their nerves get the better of them, or they start overthinking. You get on a hamster wheel and you start saying, oh, is it this one? You don't have to get 100% of these questions right. You have to get 70 correct to pass. So that should help you to kind of relax. If you don't know the answer, that's when you use process of elimination to eliminate what you know is not correct. You know 2 of those answers are going to be off the wall, not even related, or have some weird modifier that doesn't even apply. So you can get rid of 2 of them. Now you've upped your chances of getting the right answer, because now it's going to be between 2. Which one is it going to be? Make a choice and move on. If you get stuck and you get hung up, that's the problem, because people get stuck and hung up, and then all of a sudden they lose the rest of it. All that hard work for one stupid question. If you don't know if you don't know anything about that question, if that question is just some subject that you just don't get, make a choice and move on. Concentrate on the other ones that you know you're going to be able to get through. Because you're not going to, hopefully, you won't have many like that where you're not going to feel as like, well, did I do this one right? Hopefully, you've been practicing and you won't have that issue. So again, I recommend for my CPC test people to get the CPC study guide and use that to study. I also do recommend this book, even if you are sitting for the CPC. I still recommend the American Hospital Association, the ICD-10-CM and ICD-10-PCS Coding Handbook with the answers. You can get the 2019 book. The 2021, 2022, it's just almost the same thing. They just changed the order of the questions. So again, and this one's cheaper. But you can skip the PCS questions and go for the diagnosis coding questions. There's also scenarios back here for emergency room and other situations. So again, this is worth it to practice on your diagnosis coding. So if you're struggling, if you're AAPC and you're struggling on your diagnosis coding, this is a good practice book. This is better than Bucks. This is better than any of those other ones, Trivenia, whatever. It starts with a T, Trivia, like trivia or something, whatever that book is. It is better than those, in my opinion, because Bucks is a little weird. Bucks is like, to me, whenever I look at Bucks, it's like the way that they word things, it's like the person already knows how to code. This one is more talking like for brand new people. It is really, for the American Hospital Association to put this one together, that is amazing. Because again, this is very straightforward. I like the way this is. I used this to study with when I was sitting for my CCS exam. So that's the thing. Even if you're studying for CPC, that's okay, because you can skip all the PCS questions and go for the diagnosis coding questions. Again, it is a cheaper option. The link is in the description box when I update it. So those are the 2 that I would use, and I would go through drills. If I were you, make the 4 hours. If you are going to take this exam, take the 4 hours to go through questions in there and time yourself so that you know, can I get through these in 2 minutes and 40 seconds each question? These multiple choice questions, can I get through in that amount of time? And when you do, and when you go and you stop the 2 to 3 days before you take your test, because it does no good to sit there and cram before you take your exam. People have said, well, Blue, I crammed all the way to the last minute and I failed, because you stressed your brain. You have to give your brain time to decompress. You're not going to learn anything new in the 2 to 3 days. And 2 to 3 days of rest before you take your test is actually going to refresh you, so that you can go in there with that fighting spirit, and you can go in there refreshed and raring to go, because you know you've done your best to prepare. You know that at the end of the day, it's a test. A test is a test is a test. And if all else fails and you fail, just take it again. But if you pass it, great. Now you're on to the next task, and that is finding your job. And it is still continuing to study, because I hear from so many people, Blue, I passed my test last year and I applied for a job and now they're giving me a test and I forgot how to code. Don't be that person, guys. Don't do that to yourself. Not when you've worked this hard. Carrie says, my class is 16 weeks. Ingrid, hi Ingrid. Hey Blue, you got me so nervous because my CPC prep class is only, oh no, only 12 weeks. A says, it took me 8 months to do the 16-week AAPC course. I have been doing it very slowly. Hey, that's all right. Carrie, I know my terms in anatomy. Yes, Ingrid. But also, I already have my RHIT. Okay. And then I know my medical terminology and anatomy. All right. Jamie says, is that a good book to have even if you've done passed the test? Oh, yes, Jamie. Yes, it is. Because you still need to practice. This book has the answers. This book has the rationale. This book was written by the American Hospital Association. One of the best you can get. I'm just saying. But Ingrid, yes, but you already have your degree and you know your anatomy, your medical terminology. All I can tell you to do is just practice, practice, practice. I know that for the RHIT, that coding is only a very small part, right? Because the RHIT, RHIA programs are for our leaders. That's not their concentration. Coding is not their concentration. Their concentration is the legal side. It is the human resources side, is dealing with employees. It is our leadership. Those are our leaders. So it is possible, but you need to make sure that you are concentrating. As much as you concentrated on that RHIT program, right? As much as you did and you were able to pass that degree designation exam, is the same way you have to be with the CPC. So again, if you're practicing and you're doing those drills and you're going through and you're reaching out, if you find yourself that it's not clicking, there are a ton of tutors on LinkedIn for medical coding. I am a tutor myself. My rates are in the description box below when I update it. It's on the description box of all my videos, actually. So I am a tutor myself. And when I tutor somebody, we go over on Zoom, right? And, we talk this out and I'm able to explain like, okay, what it is. And people have told me many times, Blue, I worried about that. And you cleared it up in less than 5 minutes. Sometimes it just takes talking to somebody who's knowledgeable, who can work with you, who knows how to explain it. Not everybody knows how to explain things, but there are people like me who know how to explain things. So just reach out, find a mentor. Sometimes you can reach out to your association. AAPC is very grassroots oriented. So they have a lot of meetings, regular meetings, and you can reach out on LinkedIn and find somebody. I've seen people, brand new coders, say, I'm looking for a mentor. Is anybody here willing to mentor me? And a lot of people go and they will volunteer themselves selflessly. I've gotten a few emails of people asking me if I can be their mentor. I can't. With my schedule as tight as it is, I can't. I would love to, but I cannot. And my schedule just doesn't account for that time because I have so many other things to do. And so, again, I make time for my clients. I make time for Patreon. I make time for the channel. But that's it. Because at the end of the day, I got to have a little bit of that time for myself too, and it takes a lot to mentor somebody. But again, you can reach out on LinkedIn. You can go to the members association meetings and reach out there and find somebody. Luna says, I literally just bought the coding handbook. You're gonna love it. So at least I think so, because I love the book. And again, I credit that book to helping me. So all right, so not bad. I did good. I hit 59 minutes. All right, so I try to be more conscious of the time because people said, oh, well, your live is so long. I'm going at the will of the audience, there's just sometimes when you're in the conversation and it's so much fun and it's hard to stop the lives. So one of my favorite YouTubers is a channel called Think Like a Horse. The guy's name is Rick. Now, Rick, the first time you listen to him, if you ever watch the show, he talks about horses and things like that. He was in the military and he used to train dogs in the military, and then he used to be a cop. And so he has a lot of knowledge and he has a lot of common sense things that he says. But when you first hear him, you might think, gosh, this guy is a jerk. But the more you listen to him, the more you think, oh my gosh, this guy is freaking genius, because he says things in a very blunt and straightforward way, like I do. He's a little bit more gruff with his language. I have to kind of, I watch my language because it's the channel. But he is hysterical. He's funny. And he is the one who talks about being unconsciously incompetent and consciously incompetent. And like I said, when I was learning PCS, I knew I was consciously incompetent because I did not know. So I was trying to learn. With unconscious incompetence, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes people are that way in the industry, where they talk like they know and they don't know. As far as like, oh, this is the gold standard of medical coding credentials. You can't do anything with this other credential. And when I see that, again, I think unconscious incompetence, because literally, you can't judge somebody by their credentials. Don't ever do that. Don't ever be that person that judges somebody by their credentials, because I've seen that on LinkedIn, and it's everything I have not to say anything, because sometimes they don't know. But sometimes you can't argue with people because they don't know any better and they think that they're right. I spent 13 years as a CCA. 13 years. And I stubbornly held on to my credential because I was tired of people trash talking the CCA. Oh, you can't do anything. Oh, really? Watch me. And I made more money than a nurse. I made more money than degree holders. I trained doctors. I trained other medical coders. I trained nurses. And I did all of that with a CCA. So before you discount CCAs, think again, right? And so that's the thing. I would never judge anybody. I don't judge anybody based on their credential. I don't judge anybody based on the association they belong to. However, I will say this. Somebody asked about the NHA. I do not believe in this. I do not believe in the NHA, and that's my own personal opinion. You can think whatever you want to. However, when I see what employers are looking for, they are not looking for those credentials from them. They are looking for AHIMA or AAPC credentials, period. Somebody tells me, oh, well, Blue, it's free, and if I take it, then I can have a credential behind my name. But if no one is asking for that credential, then what are you doing with it? You can't do anything with it if no one is asking for it. And if you're investing money, because think about this, it's not really free, right? It's not really free when you have to go and you have to pay for that program. And just because they throw it on for free doesn't mean that it is free, because you still have to be able to maintain it. And I will tell you this before I wrap it up. So a couple of years ago, I was approached by a scumbag who ran one of those programs, who said, oh, well, we'll sponsor your channel if you promote our product. A product that no one is asking for? No, sir. Oh, well, you just don't know what you're missing out on. Okay, excuse me. I'm not a sellout, number one. Not a sellout, and I would never, ever lead people in the wrong direction in a field that I love. I would never do that. So the information that I give you here is things that I would do if I was in a situation of a brand new medical coder. I would never recommend anybody that you couldn't do something with, that you couldn't get ahead with. I would never, ever do that. And he reached out to me again like a dummy. Now he's a dummy because he says, oh, well, I'm excited to work with you. No, dude. No, you were rude, number one. Because I told him, I said, no, I can't promote a product that I don't believe in. And he's like, well, you don't know what you're missing. Click. Okay. And then he writes me again 2 years later. Okay, whatever, dude. Whatever. Black. So, stupid. I will never sell my channel out for money. Never. Never. I don't have to. Channel can sell itself. The field can sell itself. If you want to do this, if you want to get into medical coding, great. But be prepared to study And I will never, ever have anything on my channel that would never be the truth. It's never not to be something that you can't take to the bank. Right? It's always going to be the truth. That's what I meant to say. And never not be the truth. It's always going to be the truth. As I see it anyway. You know? And again, I would never tell people, oh yeah, get this. Because I'm not trying to sell y'all anything. Never. I will never do that to y'all. That's just my promise anyway. So. All right. Ellie says, thank you, Blue. I'm glad you're alive. Let's see. Yep, I just explained it, see. Ingrid says, even after the class, I will be doing, like you said, going over and over the workbook questions for a while before I sit for the exam, and I will definitely reach out for a tutor. If I don't feel very good, Ingrid. C says, I'm taking an 8-month course, and that's the exam they are preparing us for. I would look at the AAPC or AHIMA. Ingrid says, also, you're welcome. Also, I have your info and rates if I really get tripped up. Thank you for your honesty. You're welcome. Marissa, you're welcome. But yeah, so again, that's not a, you could actually see, I'm going to challenge you to look in your area for anybody asking for that certification from that association. And you can see, it's not just me saying it. You can actually look for yourself in the job listings and see what credentials are looking for when it comes to medical coding, okay? If that's what you want to do. If you want to be a medical biller, that's fine. You don't even need a certification to be a medical biller. You don't. Because a lot of times they do like training in person. And if you're wanting to be a medical biller, a part of the medical coding program is learning about billing. There's reimbursement, and we're all tested on reimbursement. So again, to me, billing credentials are not worth it because, again, you're going to be learning that when you're learning medical coding. Why are you going to double credential something when you already have the knowledge for it already? And your credential says that you do, you know? So, but yeah. Carrie says, thank you so much. This was helpful. You're welcome. Although I probably earned a couple of dislikes on it. That's all right. Again, I don't care because I would rather people know the truth. I'm not going to sit here and sell y'all something. And unfortunately, there's a lot of self-serving people out there that will try to sell you something because people don't know. And you don't know what you don't know, you know. And especially if you are really not sure. How do you know you want to get into this? How do you know you want to be a medical coder? It's a lot, you know, and it takes time. And sometimes people don't want to do that. They don't want to invest all that. And some people, they'll be like, okay, this sounds interesting. I think I can do this. And the more you get into it, the more you discover, you know, hey, I might like this. And sometimes you won't know for a few years that you actually like it. I began my career as a medical coder in 2008. I didn't figure it out until 2014. Then I had the light bulb moment. Then I had to like, oh, this is a passion. This is something different from, oh, this is just a job. It's not a job. It's a career. There's a difference. And if you've worked blue collar, trust me, you know the difference between a job and a career. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate it. And I did really good on the time. I'm very proud of myself. But like I was saying, if you're going to check out any other channels, check out Rick's channel, Think Like a Horse. He's pretty funny. He has his horses and a cat named Moki and rabbits. A rabbit? It's one rabbit, I think. But anyway, so I'm going to wrap this one up. I will see you guys next time. If you like, subscribe, share this video. It may help somebody else. And I will see y'all again. Bye.